It makes the Ironman look tiny. Over 7,500 kilometers, roughly 170 kilometers a day, every single day. We're taking no breaks. It's going to be a mental and physical grind for sure.
Mady Kennedy didn't own a bike a year ago. Today, she's biking across all of Canada because she can.
These two people that I knew got diagnosed with cancer pretty aggressively. Their health gets ripped away from them. And my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2021. And I was like, okay, I'm going to raise $1 million for cancer. Touching down in the Pacific Ocean on my 30th birthday would be the goal.
Biking across Canada might seem unrealistic, but that's kind of what Mady does. After walking away from her makeup business, she rebuilt herself by doing really, really hard things.
Sitting on the beach and all of a sudden, like 5 Ironmans surround us. I've never seen an Ironman before. I've never met anyone that's done one before. The next day at Run Club, I was like, I'm going to commit fully to an Ironman. And everyone said that was so crazy. I don't have a bike. I don't know how to bike, really. I don't know how to swim. I had a panic attack in the water. I was throwing up. I was like hyperventilating. Like I could not catch my breath. I asked the kayaker if I touch the kayak, like, am I DQ'd? I look miserable crossing the finish line because I was just like, I couldn't even believe what I had just done.
This is a story of what happens when we decide to find out what we're really capable of.
I want to be very cautious of what I am saying and what I'm feeling about this. So I pushed it too hard one day and I kind of like tweaked a little something in my knee, never like said it out loud. Will my body be able to keep up with this?
Mady, welcome to the Inspired Idiot Show.
I'm so excited to be here. I feel like this is a long time coming, so really excited.
I have wanted to have you on the show for so long, but once you told me that you were doing the bike across Canada, I was like, this is a perfect opportunity for me to interview you. But I want to start kind of where I think it all started for me, at least, or when I first kind of got introduced to you, because you, I know, are a creator and you have a very large Instagram account. And that started by you doing makeup videos, and you did my makeup for my wedding, but you used to do really crazy dramatic looks that would have you in the chair for like over 12 hours. So I wanted to hear you explain like what that season of your life was like when those videos first started like blowing up.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it feels like such a long time ago because I guess it kind of was, but kind of how the makeup started, I would say originally, like it was just a creative outlet for me. And I was never someone that was into makeup, but I've always been creative. I've always been into art. And I just started watching YouTube videos, started teaching myself, started posting my looks online, and started just kind of trial and error, getting a little bit better, finding my style. And yeah, I started posting and it kind of started getting a little bit of traction. And I started posting on TikTok and I grew my following there. And I thought that I was living like my passion. And I would sit in my makeup room for hours and hours every single day and creating looks. And it was a really fun season of my life. But yeah, I kind of fell out of love with that passion. And then, yeah, now here we are.
Do you remember, like, was it like a kind of gradual thing where like over time you just started liking the work less? Or do you remember a moment when you were like, I don't think that I want this to be what I build my identity around? Like, what was that decision like?
I don't know if it definitely wasn't instant, but I just started to have different hobbies and different passions. And I've always been someone that's been multi-passionate and I've had a hard time sticking to one thing. And my whole identity was wrapped up in being the makeup girl,
Mhm.
that I didn't know who I was outside of that anymore. And I started to feel the pressure of that. I like pressure, but when I was so niched down to be the makeup girl, I felt like I couldn't talk about anything else or do anything else. And it was so consuming. And I just pictured my life in like 10 years with a family and a husband and kids. And I was like, could I see myself doing this in that stage of life? And I'm like, no. And at the end of the day, what I've always wanted for myself was freedom and flexibility. So like the time freedom and the financial freedom and the freedom to work from wherever I want. And I thought I was building that, but when I actually took a step back to realize that is not at all what I was doing, right? I was stuck in a little room with all of my makeup. And that was all I did all day, every day. So for me, that was kind of the start of it when I realized that I was so niche down to this one thing that I kind of lost sight of who I was outside of that. And that feeling was like so restrictive and overwhelming that I felt like I was like, okay, I have to kind of figure out who I am and what I bring to this world outside of just my makeup. So I almost started to like kind of disconnect from that a little bit. And when I realized, holy shit, I'm like really, really tied into this, I was like, okay, we have to start making some changes. And that's when I really started to contemplate if that was the true passion for me.
Yeah, I think like I've seen this a lot in like people building businesses and entrepreneurship is like you do something and you're like, oh shit, this is working. So you feel that momentum and you're like, I'm going to keep doing it. But then at some point you start to wrestle with like, well, I don't know if I want to keep building this, but I've built an audience around it and I've like been, quote unquote successful with it.
Yeah.
But people only see that side. And
Yeah.
they like, I remember you telling me once or even today that like you would sometimes do looks that would take you like 12 to like up to 16 hours. So you would think in order to give that kind of dedication, you would have to be like obsessed with it and be like, this is what I want to
Yeah.
do. But what was that like for you? Like when you first kind of started deciding like, hey, I'm going to make this pivot. Did you feel like afraid of losing that audience and losing this like baby that you've been building and raising for all that time?
100%. Like, the pressure of that, I felt like I'm letting everybody down, and I wasn't super confident and secure in myself outside of that world yet, so I felt tremendous amount of pressure, and it was working, and from the outside, it probably looked like, "Holy, she's got her, the success and all the things," and I had a lot of opportunities, and just none of them were fulfilling. It was like, I am trying to perform and I'm trying to show up as this version of myself for the internet that didn't feel like raw and authentic to me. And I'm somebody that is very intense and I'm very sensitive and I wear my heart on my sleeve. And if I am not in super invested in something, super passionate about it, and absolutely in love with it, like it shows. And I was starting to just feel so drained. I would be like, oh, I have to sit down and film a makeup look. It was no longer exciting for me. And that showed in, like, how I showed up in my makeup, and I am someone that if I feel that way, I can't fake it. So, it came to the point where I was just miserable having to sit down and do it every day, and I'm like, "I can't keep doing this." Like, I cannot dedicate all day every day to this thing that is not bringing me happiness and fulfillment. And I that was scary because there was so much uncertainty tied to that. I spent 12 years like going all in on this thing that I thought was my passion and leaving that behind for you don't know. Like, it's so uncertain, and I had no clue what I wanted to do outside of that. Like, that's a really scary place to be. Like, you're leaving everything that you kind of thought that you wanted behind, and I had a business at this time too. Again, like, that was something that it's really hard to, I guess, admit that, like, you made a wrong choice or decision, and that's how I looked at it then. Now, I found a lot of power in the fact that I was able to walk away because I feel like a lot of people would stay just solely for the fact that they're invested in it and they're in it, and I'm not someone that operates that way. If I'm not fulfilled, I will pivot every day of the week.
Mhm. Do you remember because I know your account really grew, like, I think you were at what was it around your peak? Like, over 100,000
Yeah,
followers at
yeah.
least. Do you remember, like, the first video that blew up? And, like, did you get any kind of, like, high from that? Seeing, like, "Oh, this is working. Like, I could make this work."
Oh, it's yeah, it's a like, that's the problem though, is it is so exciting, and you get addicted to that, and you get, like yeah, you get a dopamine hit from that, but I had to come to the realization that, like, I am performing. Like, it felt like a performance for me. I was like, "This isn't authentic to me," and I'm chasing likes and comments and people's approval on the internet, and if someone left me a mean comment, I would take it to heart, and when someone would leave me good comments, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need that. I needed that approval. I needed that validation. And that is such a scary place to be. I didn't realize this in the moment, but I was craving that. And it became, I was posting just like refresh, 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 like waiting for people to give me validation that like I'm good enough and that like I'm creative and that they love my work. And my whole identity was wrapped up in that because I was giving like all of my energy and approval. I was putting it in other people's hands and I didn't have it for myself. And that's why I just kept creating. And it's like a never ending cycle. I couldn't enjoy my life because all I was thinking about was like, what can I post next? And how can I show the internet that I'm worthy? And that to me was a really scary and dangerous place to be because if you are giving away all of your power, like you have none for yourself.
Mhm. And then I noticed like over the last, I think, year, but maybe a little bit more, you made a big pivot in your content to talking more about like you as a person and
Yeah.
your like kind of self-healing journey and a lot of things that you were going through and your evolution and your relationship to fitness. Do you think that that kind of a bit of like almost like an identity crisis with the makeup and that brand, do you think that that kind of sparked the way that you've pivoted in your content and really just like in your life?
Yeah, because I feel as though I was forced to find what truly makes me happy. I was almost like at this like clean slate. Like it was a very vulnerable place to be. It was a scary place to be. I was like feeling so lost and insecure. I'm like, I have no clue where I want to be, what I want to do. I feel so behind. Everyone's going to school and have these careers. And I'm like, now I'm restarting. And like, I don't know what that looks like. And I spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. And I have always, again, wanted like freedom and flexibility. So I'm like, what can I do? What like lights me up? And that's a hard position to be in to like try to figure it out when you feel like nothing's working and you're just like in this rat race of like, I'm lost and I'm stuck and I don't know the next step. So yeah, that was like a really challenging time, but it also forced me to look at the things that I enjoy and look at the things that I am good at and I'm passionate about that bring me fulfillment. And slowly it just started to all kind of work out the way that it was supposed to. And now I am never going to wrap my identity so much in one direction because I want to have a mission and I want to change the world and I want to do big things at the core. But the way that I execute that will always be different and in different formats. And I think that's just something that I need to do for like the way that my brain works. Like I need to be able to have that like creativity and like always like doing different things and like ebbs and flows of life. I was so fixated on the end goal in my makeup that I had blinders on for everything else that was to come into my life. Like, and I would self sabotage and any opportunities that would come in that were like slightly off track from that, I wouldn't even like see them. Now I'm like, okay, I have a really good foundation of I know what I want. I know what joy and fulfillment looks like for me now. And now I'm able to like open myself to all the opportunities that are around me. And I'm not so focused on an end goal because I realized that like the process of becoming that person is the whole point.
Yeah. So when you first kind of made that pivot or when you like officially stopped posting the makeup content and you said you kind of went through this period of like, what is my identity? What do I actually even like? Do you feel like you had to almost rediscover that? Like, what was that kind of phase in your life like?
I had to completely rediscover that because I think I use makeup as a way to build my confidence and as like kind of like a crutch to build. I was a very insecure person and I felt like that validation that I needed from other people was the reason that I was doing makeup. And that's what it turned out to be. So yeah, it was like 2.5 years of trying to figure it out and kind of doing a lot of the work on myself, feeling lost and directionless. So yeah, it was a really tough period, but in the end, like, it all worked out the way that it was supposed to.
Yeah, yeah. Something that I don't think I've ever told you this. I definitely haven't ever told you this, but like I've obviously kind of known you through the grapevine
Yeah.
for years through you working with my husband back in the day on the makeup videos. And I remember seeing you periodically post videos of like you kind of going through phases where you at least feel like you were getting in really great shape
Mhm.
and you would kind of go through these like ups and downs with your fitness. And that was something I related to because I felt like one of the biggest transformations I ever went through in my life was finally like, for lack of a better word, like healing my relationship with fitness. And
Mhm,
once I did that, I felt like the physical results that I was always trying so hard to see actually started happening.
mhm.
But it was because I did that like inner work
Yeah,
first. And I felt like maybe it was just me like projecting onto you, but I remember starting to see you post about that more. And I've heard some of like the messages that you share in your content. And I'm like, I think that Maddie is going through that too, where like
mhm.
you kind of started working on your relationship with yourself. And that translated into your relationship with fitness. And that in turn like changed your whole life and then changed your brand and your content and everything. Do you feel like that was
100
accurate?
yeah, 100%, and if what's funny is, like, through the whole makeup journey, like, if people followed me for a while, like, I posted my workouts. I would wake up super early, I would work out, and then I would sit down and do makeup all day. So, like, the fitness aspect was a part of my journey then as well, but I didn't feel like I could ever post about it because, again, I was so wrapped up in the makeup world that I felt like I couldn't talk about, like, the other aspects of me, and I'm so multi-passionate that I have all of these things that I love doing, but I felt this like tension of I can't really post my fitness stuff and my mindset stuff because I'm a makeup page and like that's what I have to stick to. And I felt that disconnect and I feel as though that's where a lot of the anxiety comes from and the overwhelm and the stress is like when your reality and where you wanna be don't match up, and you're in that, like, kinda in between period, and that tension that you feel is, like, that pull towards something else, and I felt that so strongly for so long, and I totally, like, disregarded it. I didn't understand what that meant. Now I do, but, like, yeah, I felt I really wanna post about this stuff, and, like, I love fitness, and I love personal development, and I was starting to, like, read the books and work on myself a little bit, but I just felt like it was, like, that was my one world, and then this was the world that I showed on social media, and they were separate, and then I'm like, "Okay, that this feels so inauthentic now," because I was just posting about this, like, the glitz and glam and me doing makeup, and that's, like, such a s although it took up most of my time, it's such a small piece of who I was that that's where I felt like the huge disconnect was, and it came to, like, a head where I was like, I gotta choose," and I know that I'm not passionate about this anymore. I can feel myself outgrowing this version of myself. It played its role for what it was supposed to. And there's still so many lessons that I learned during that and so many skills and things that I learned that I'm still using to this day. But I knew that it was time. Like when I quit doing makeup, I quit like that. I did one last makeup look. I knew that it was my last one and I didn't post for like a year because again, I just felt like this awkward, like in between period of like I'm not yet quite who I want to be. I don't know who I want to be yet, but I know that I'm have outgrown this. So that was the big first step. And then shutting down my business was obviously a really big one too, because me and my brother were in on that together. And I felt like I was really letting him down. And that was a lot of pressure that I felt like I'm not someone that likes to quit on anything. But I had to reframe it as like, you are not quitting, like you are just pivoting and shifting. And sometimes, like, we just have to accept that, hey, what got us here is not going to get us there. And just because this was a season of your life does not mean that you cannot change at any moment. And now I love embracing that. Like, if I feel in the slightest that I'm not meant to be somewhere, I will pivot. And like, I have do not have to explain it as anybody. That was kind of another big thing was that like I when I left makeup, I was like, nobody's gonna understand. And I still get asked to this day of like, why did you quit? You were doing so good. I thought you loved it, blah, blah, blah. And like, that's just the part that people see. And I had to come to terms with the fact that people are not gonna understand your decisions, and that's okay. And they're not supposed to. Like it truly only has to feel right to me. And I know 100 and million% that that was the right choice for me.
I'm interested because I feel like there's so many people that are like content creators online and it's very easy to look at it from the outside and see like you said like the glamorous parts of it and
Yeah.
think like oh man like life just must be so easy for her like she gets up and does makeup and she probably gets brand deals and like it's probably just so
Yeah.
awesome being a
Yeah.
creator but you mentioned like you had built a business around it with your brother so what did the like the business side of creating content actually look like for you.
Yeah, like and I won't say that it was, like, a hard job. Like, it's challenging because you're putting yourself out there to the world to be criticized, to be ridiculed, to have somebody to have the world pick you apart, essentially. There's a lot of good that comes with it, but there's a lot of pressure that comes with it too. Sometimes I just want to keep my life private, and there's certain areas that I just didn't want to post about and talk about, and I know that comes with the territory, but yeah, it's honestly, I completely completely lost track
That's
of what
okay. I asked what did the like actually building a business around it look like? So you said like you and your brother had built a
Yeah,
business
yeah.
around.
Okay. Yeah, so we built built Creator Beauty, obviously, on top of the fact that I had to keep up with posting and doing those looks, which took up 10 hours, 12, 15 hours in a day. Like, I was packing orders and like, doing the design and the creativity and the sales and the marketing and sending the emails and like there's a lot that goes into that. And like I've always known that I wanted to be a business owner. Like I have that entrepreneurial brain and I always knew that that was going to be part of my journey, but it's a lot to do it on your own. And like having a makeup brand that I seen being like in Sephora and having these big goals for it, it's a lot. Like it's more than I expected. But again, I think you have to be so passionate. If you are gonna build something, you have to be so passionate about it because it's a grind and it takes a lot out of you. And at the end of the day, and the days that suck, like you have to at least enjoy what you're doing and believe in the mission. And I didn't. And that's why I had a hard time, like really, really like promoting it and pushing it and growing it because I'm like, my heart's not fully in it. And I'm someone that needs to fully commit. And when I fully commit, I'm the most disciplined human being ever. But when I'm even halfway, like, one foot's out, one foot's in, I think that's where we get in trouble in life because when we're fully committed, I think we can do anything. But when you feel that slight resistance and you're not fully all the way in, that's how you kind of know that it's like maybe not the right path for you.
So what did that conversation with your brother end up going the way that you anticipated it would?
I think Okay, truthfully, I quit doing makeup before I had a conversation with my brother. Like, so I quit doing the makeup looks itself. I stopped posting. I lost like 30 plus thousand followers. I kind of knew that would come with the territory and I was okay with that. I knew that that was something that would happen. And it was also just in a period of like COVID and stuff. It was really like scary to post stuff. And I just like felt this like overwhelming of like I have to explain myself to everybody. I'm just gonna avoid having to talk about it. So I'm just gonna like not go on social media. And then it came to the point where like I was kind of avoiding having to tell him because like I felt like I was letting him down and he invested in me and he like believed in me and that was honestly one of the hardest things that I had to do and I didn't want to let him down. I had to it was causing me so much stress and anxiety. I had to finally just like word up quicker so I just got to get this over with. And I had the conversation with him and I'm just like I started crying and I was like I can't fake it and I cannot put my all into a business that I do not love and believe in anymore. And he understood. I think maybe he was probably a little bit like salty at first, which is like totally fair. But I think since then we've been able to build our relationship and he supports my new ventures and yeah, I think it all kind of worked out.
Nice. It's cool. I didn't know that you brought your brother into it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
see how that would have made it like have even more weight to it then, because it's
So it
not
was
just you anymore, right?
I felt that weight for, like, probably a year after I quit, at least. It was so heavy. And, like, I have lists that I write of, like, my things that I have to do that day, and it was at the top of my list every single day for a year, I swear. And I just kept putting it off and kept putting it off. I'm like, I can't, like, this I know that this is gonna cause so much and I know he's gonna be heartbroken and like I don't want to do that to him and I feel so guilty and so bad. And then I was just like, I can't keep creating this suffering for myself and for him. And yeah, it just came to the point where I had to be like, be honest. And the weight that was lifted off my shoulders, although that was such a big decision, and it just felt like finally like the closing of a chapter. That was the final piece that I had to close in order to fully commit and step into the new version.
So what was it like then? Like you said, you took about a year off where you weren't really posting at all because you're kind of just like, I don't know what I want this to be yet. And then you came back, and I know, like, I know you started kind of slowly posting the fitness content and the personal development. What was that like when you first started posting that kind of content that you actually felt was genuine? And I mean, in some ways, almost putting yourself out there even more because now it was coming from a real place.
Yeah. I think it came down to not caring what other people thought. For the first time, I had to just, this is my page. I have to not care about the likes and the comments, and I'm posting for myself rather than for other people. So I was kind of like I was at such a low point. I was so lost, and I was like, I need to make a change. I have never felt more insecure and terrible in my life. And I was like, again, I'm fully committed to something. So I'm like, let's do 75 hard. Let's go like all in. I don't just want to like do like a little something. I'm like, I need a full change. That's how I work best, is like intense. So we started to do 75 hard, and it was like everything that I needed to like get my mindset back on track, and my body too. So I stopped drinking obviously in that time. I started like running again. I started moving my body again. I started going to Thrive, making new friendships, and that kind of just like spiraled into kind of everything else. And I was like, I remember the time, it was in the summer, and I remember the exact day that I was like, I know what I want to do. And like finally, after like 2 years of being so lost and not knowing the direction that I wanted to go, I was like, I want to like help people on their wellness journey. And I've always kind of loved the like teaching aspect. I've loved talking. I'm very intense and passionate. And I've always, even in makeup, I did that. Like I did courses and I taught people. And I was like, I think that at the core is what I was meant to do, is like inspire people and help people in that way. But it's just shifted from makeup to like wellness. And if I can help people get through kind of like the same period that I was in, then that is, I feel like that is like my passion and what I'm supposed to do. So I took a course on like holistic wellness, and I was so excited about it. I quit drinking at this time. So I am now like over 2.5 years sober. That was one of the best decisions ever because it just created so much clarity in my life. And yeah, and I just kind of slowly started to really like pour into myself for the first time, understand myself. And it wasn't, I probably went through this period for 2 years before like my really big transformation, which happened in the last like year and a half of my healing. But I think it was like a slow progression that happened. Yeah.
You said that quitting drinking brought a lot of clarity to your life. What do you mean by that?
One of the biggest things that I asked myself when I quit drinking was, again, who am I without alcohol? And that was the same with makeup. It was like, who am I without makeup? Who am I to my core? And I still didn't know that answer. So I think at the end of the day, it always came back to I didn't know myself. I didn't understand myself. I didn't know who I was. I would just like be so invested into these outside things without actually doing the like foundation work on myself. So that was a question that I had to sit with. I'm like, why do I feel like I need it? And who am I without it? Because when I was drinking, I was loud, I was bold, I was confident, I was the one dancing on tables, and I was fun and exciting. And I liked that version of myself. Like she was the life of the party. But it kind of got me thinking, who is that truly who you are? And alcohol is just like your permission slip to show up as that, because you at least have something to fall back on if people don't like it. So it was like, if people thought I was too much and too intense in that version of myself, I could just be like, oh, I was drunk, because I was too afraid to show up as that version of myself sober, because that was like being vulnerable and open, right? And then I could be judged and criticized, and not like, people might not like that. And I was so fixated on having everybody needed to like me. And if somebody didn't like me, like I had to prove myself even more. And that like ran my life for my entire life. So that was something that I like kind of like something that I came up with in my head. I'm like, oh my gosh, like that is exactly what it was. I liked that version of myself. And I think that's who I was at my core, that I only allowed to come out when I was drunk. And I was like, well, what if I could tap into that version of myself without drinking? And I started like challenging myself to go out in public and, like talk to people and have deep conversations and do all the things that I would do freely when I was drunk, but like without having that crutch. And it was so powerful because I'm like, I am a talkative person. Like, I am confident and I can be bold and I can be, secure and all of these things and the fun one without drinking. And that was like such a profound lesson that I had to learn. But like now I don't feel like I need alcohol in any way. I can go into any single room. People can be drunk, I can be sober, and I can have just as much fun, if not more, and remember it the next day and feel good the next day? So yeah, that was like a huge, huge lesson that I had to learn.
Yeah. Oh man. I feel like that's how a lot of people treat substances, whether it's alcohol or weed or whatever. It's like, and I've even noticed that in myself, probably more with weed than with alcohol, but like you almost lean into it because it feels like it gives you like uninhibited permission to just show up the way you want to show up.
Yeah,
But another thing, actually funny enough, that I realized about why I really like doing this and having these conversations is because one of my favorite things about when I used to drink a lot was having like drunk talks when people are just like completely uninhibited
open,
and you have
vulnerable.
like the heart to hearts, people would say. And I felt like that always happens when people are like completely letting loose. And I've had that same thought too. I was like, why do I feel like I have to be drunk or high to have that? Like, what if I just
Yeah.
found a way to bring those like soul to soul conversations and having actual deep connection without feeling like I need to take a substance to like give myself permission to do that?
Yeah, 100%, and that's one of my favorite things to do now. I was the exact same way, and my favorite thing to do is have, like, deep conversations and, like, pull that out of people. I love it, and it makes a lot of people uncomfortable, and I kinda know, like, who I can do that with, and you can kinda tell pretty quickly, but when you start surrounding yourself with people that are on a similar path as you, like, that is one of the coolest things, is, like, I can hang out with my friends now, and we can actually get deep and talk and, like, be vulnerable, and we can, like, talk about the reasons that they are the way that they are, and understanding people is so like, it's such a fun thing to do. Like, I understand why my friends show up in the way that they do because I understand, like, how their family dynamic was and, like, "Oh, this hurt them, and they have trust issues because of this," and it's just, like, it makes your relationship so much better because you can come from such a grounded place rather than like, I just feel like I can relate to so many people now and, like, I can if someone, like, upsets me or acts out of emotion or anger, I'm like, I can understand it in a different way because 'cause I'm like, I get that, you acted out of anger because of this trigger that you maybe learned, like, when you were younger and whatever. Because I've asked those questions and I understand you as a human being, I think it's so important that we have those deep connections and those deep talks, and it is literally one of my favorite things in the world to do. Now that alcohol is not involved, yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I resonate with that a lot. So, okay, so you make this pivot, you're starting to post content about you as a person and the kind of healing journey you're going on and finding your love and your rhythm with fitness. How did you go from that to deciding I'm going to do an Ironman?
So the funny story about the Ironman is that, like, it's actually on my vision board from, like, a couple years ago, and I kinda completely forgot. Like, it was just something that was cool. I've always maybe, like, wanted to do a triathlon, but it wasn't something that I would ever probably have done. Like, it probably just would have been on the vision board, and it would have been a cool thing, but I would have never, like, got in the water or anything. And then about this time last year, I had, like, a deep healing journey, and I just really started to focus on myself, understand myself in, like, a much deeper way, started, like, handling all the shit that I've been putting off for, like, 28 years, and came out of that such a different person. And I was always the girl that thought she had to do it on her own and could do it on her own and didn't need anyone. And I woke up and I worked out by myself and I sat in my room by myself and I just didn't rely on anyone because of my own triggers and traumas of like not asking for help so then I could never be let down. And then I started kind of coming out of that and I started going to run clubs. My friends started to run clubs. So I started kind of going to that and saw the power of like community and connection and people that were on a similar journey than as me and a similar path. Because when I stopped drinking alcohol, obviously you lose friendships and your dynamics change a little bit because it's no longer revolving around that. So I was like still looking for like my people that I had that in common with. And through Run Club, I kind of got that. And then it was my birthday, my 29th birthday. And like kind of one of my mottos is stay prepared so you don't have to get prepared. So one of my friends, we were out for my birthday dinner on Saturday night and he was like, you should run in the Manitoba Marathon tomorrow. And I was like, you know what? My motto is stay prepared so you don't have to get prepared. And I was like, that's a perfect opportunity to put it to the test. So I literally signed up on like 24-hour notice and I did the half marathon. Before that, I had only ran like 6 kilometers in the last couple years, like 5Ks at run club and stuff. And I ran it and I felt so good. And I was like, oh my God, I just did that. And my goal was just to do under 2 hours. And I did like 1:48. So like I did way better than I thought. And I was like, maybe we are stronger than we think. And that kind of like sparked a little bit in my mind of like, okay, I think I could like maybe do more with this. Again, Ironman was never in the cards. And then 2 weeks later, it's July 1st. Everyone has a day off. So me and a couple friends went out to run in a trail run. And then we went to the beach after out in West Hawk. And I'm sitting on the beach, and all of a sudden, like 5 Ironmen surround us and start talking to us. And I was like, I've never seen an Ironman before. Like, I've never met anyone that's done one before. And I was like, this is like a crazy sign. All of these people are coming, putting their wetsuits on, putting their swim caps on, and they're going out to swim 4,000 meters preparation for their Ironman. I'm like, this is so cool. We're sitting on the beach and they're out there swimming. I was like, that is so cool. And I was literally thinking about it all day and all night. And I'm like, that is so cool. This has to be a sign. And then the next day at Run Club, I was like, I'm going to commit fully to an Ironman. I mentally committed. That was all I needed. I didn't sign up or register for another 2 months. I I seen that there was Ironman Arizona 4 months out, and I was like, "That's perfect amount of time that I need to, like, really push myself," and I committed that night and went to the gym and did a bike and went to the pool and did a swim. Could barely go 25 meters, had to buy, like, a Walmart one-piece bathing suit. I'm like, "I don't own a one-piece bathing suit," and that was how it started. I feel like when you put yourself in those hard situations, you find out what you're capable of. It's a feeling like you can't get anywhere else because you are just putting yourself through, like, all of the lessons that you learn along the way through that process, you just can't access anywhere else. So I think it's so important that we put ourselves through these challenging things, and then you realize that, God, all the things that used to stop me and used to be my limiting beliefs, like, they don't exist anymore because like, I've surpassed that so many times over now that, like, the world is my oyster. Like, we can do anything that we set our mind to. Truly, I believe that.
Fucking wild that you're like, I'm gonna do a marathon tomorrow, because I know people who have run marathons and obviously don't have the same commitment to fitness that it seems like you do. But to be like, I'm gonna run a marathon tomorrow. And
It was a
I
half,
mean, but
but
still,
still, yeah.
still, it's a good trek. Like
Yeah,
you said, you hadn't run more than like 6K at a time. So
yeah.
it's obviously substantially more than that. So okay, you make this decision. I'm gonna do an Ironman. Where do you even go from there? Because obviously that is not something that you can do without like massively training for. So where did you start being somebody who didn't know how to do an Ironman?
I think one of the most profound things that I learned during that is, like, start before you're ready. And the amount of people that have messaged me, like, "I would love to do an Ironman," but, like, "I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start. I don't know how to swim." Like, you have to start first and figure it out as you go. If you wait to have all the answers, you will be waiting your entire life. So, I had to commit, and I was like, "Well, I know that I have to run, and I know that I have to bike. I don't have a bike. I don't know how to bike really. So, like, I'm just gonna go to the Crunch Fitness and do a stationary bike. At least it's something. I don't know how to swim. Looked up pools, went to the pool. Like, I just started before I was ready because I think that preparation phase keeps a lot of people stuck. And I think we almost use it as a crutch to not start.
Mhm.
We overcomplicate it and we make it these big things in order to, like, we kind of are holding ourselves back from having to start. It's just that to me has, like, really changed the trajectory of my life of just, like, starting before I'm ready, figuring it out as I go. I will figure it out as I go, and that is, like, something that I'm just living by now. I'm, like, shooting my shot. The amount of people I just reached out to people, "Hey, I'm doing this Ironman. Do you think you could help me?" Asking questions, like, people are afraid of rejection. They're afraid to ask questions. They're afraid to shoot their shot. The amount of things that have come in my life just by simply shooting my shot is insane, and I just got really good at not caring, I guess, of, like, I don't have to have all the answers. I still don't have all the answers. But if I waited to have them before I started doing Ironman, like I would still be waiting now, you know? And you figure it out as you go. And I've always been pretty good at like trial and error. That's how I've kind of learned is with makeup, I taught myself everything I know and it's like, oh, this didn't work. Okay, we pivot here and we change this and this is a lesson learned and we move on to do this. So I think if we can take on our goals in that same way, like we would be able to do so much more. And that's what actually like separates people that do big things from the people that want to do big things is they started before they knew all the answers. This person is waiting to have all the answers before they start. Because when you take action, you create the clarity and you create the answers that you're looking for and you figure those answers out while you're on the journey. That's the whole point.
That's a very inspired idiot way of you.
Yeah.
So did you start by reaching out to people who had done Ironmans before, or like did people recommend like, hey, you should get a coach? Like who did you get to help you in preparation for that? Because it's a lot of preparation, right?
It's a lot of preparation. Yeah, I honestly started reaching out to people who knew how to swim, and then I started, like, just putting it on my story of, like, me trying to swim and my form's terrible, and people would reach out and be like, "Hey, I used to be a swim coach 20 years ago. You can switch this and you can change this." I'm like, "Thank you." Taking people's feedback, being open to feedback too, like, asking for help. In the pool, I would it was crazy because there were so many people that would come in and they'd have like a triathlon or an Ironman swim cap or a backpack. And I made it a point that every single person that I'd seen that was an Ironman, I had to talk to them. And the amount of Ironman, the people that have done an Ironman that I seen in that 4 months, when I had never seen it before because I was open to it, like, was crazy, and I went up to them, I got out of the pool and, like, would chase them down and be like, "Hey, I've seen that you did an Ironman. Do you have one piece of advice for me?" And there's probably people, like, if they're watching this, I probably talked to, like, 30 plus people that have done an Ironman, and I got different tips from them, and I'm like, "I'm doing my first one, I know nothing. Give me one piece of advice. What would be one piece of advice that you'd give to a beginner?" And I took all of that and, like, used it to my advantage, and people, like, wanna talk about that thing too, and I think it's so powerful when we open ourselves up to seeing it, like, it's been there all along, right? There's been people that have done triathlons probably within my proximity for my entire life, but I was never open to it, I was never looking for it, and you don't see it. So, when I started looking for it, I seen it everywhere, and then I started just asking and talking and having those conversations with people, and I started realizing that a lot of my friends, like, are really good runners. How can I get faster? How can I fuel myself better here? People, like, knew how to ride a bike. "Hey, what bike can I get?" Or, "Do you know anyone that's selling a bike?" I borrowed a bike from someone for the first month and a half, and then I got a secondhand bike off someone a month and a half later, and that was the bike that I'm still using right now, and that's kinda just how everything kinda worked out, and I just literally figured it out as we went.
So for anybody who doesn't know exactly how an Ironman works, there's a portion of it that's running, there's a portion that's biking, there's a portion that's swimming. What are the distances that you have to cover for each one? How does it work?
So for the full Ironman, it is a 3.8 kilometer swim. It is a 180 kilometer bike ride and then a full marathon. So that was my first ever marathon. Was race day. And that was like pretty much my longest swim, bike, and run ever. And then putting them back to back was obviously my first time ever doing that. But what I find is really interesting is the concept of stretch goals. And I like to think that I have pretty big dreams and I make pretty big goals, but even I hold myself back sometimes. And a 70.3, which is a half Ironman, which is what a lot of people start with, a great goal. But I was like, "You know what? I think I can do more." I wanted to challenge myself to the limit and, like, do a full one. And everyone said that was so crazy. You should start with a 70.3, start with the half, and I was like, "No, I'm gonna do the full thing, and I'm absolutely gonna do it." And then halfway through, so 2 months into training, I did a 70.3 on a random Tuesday in preparation for the full. And I was like, if I would have just stuck to that 70.3 goal, I would have done it, but it wouldn't have challenged me and pushed me the way that the full did. And in that like extra, that double essentially, like that is where the lessons were. And that was where the true grind was. So I think that sometimes we make goals that are realistic for us to hit because we're scared to fail. But when you kind of remove the fear of failing and you can look at it as you cannot lose when the goal is experience, you can set yourself up to shoot so much higher because when you start doing that and you start proving to yourself that you can, like that's where the magic happens. And that's where you realize, like, holy shit, I'm capable of so much more than even I thought that I could do.
Yeah. So can you kind of walk me through what it was like the week leading up to the Ironman? Were you just like so pumped up for it? Were you feeling like anxious? Was there a point when you're like, what the actual fuck am I doing? This is gonna be crazy.
You know what? There was definitely parts, like, I don't wanna act like I was never nervous. I was definitely nervous. I pushed it too hard one day, and I kind of, like, tweaked a little something in my knee, and that was my lesson learned, and it was kinda bugging me for, like, my 2 months of training, and that was, like, the one thing that was I was like, "Will my body be able to keep up with this?" That was the one thing that I was worried about, and never, like, said it out loud because I firmly believe that like our thoughts and the way that we speak really do shape, our reality. And I was very aware of that. So I was like, I want to be very cautious of what I am saying and what I'm feeling about this. Funny story is my first ever triathlon. It was an Olympic distance, so it was much shorter. It was like half of a 70.3. This was my first ever triathlon and training for the Ironman. And this was in August, and it was my first like open water swim, and it was the most humbling experience of my life. I have never in my life been closer to quitting something ever. I had a panic attack in the water. I was throwing up. I was like hyperventilating, like I could not catch my breath. I asked the kayaker, I'm like, if I touch the kayak, like, am I DQ'd? And she's like, no. And I was like, just ego wise, I was like, I'm not touching the damn kayak. I can't do it. And I was so close to being like, take me out of the water. Like I literally was almost drowning. My heart rate, like on my watch, was like crazy. And I just like mentally, that was like such a profound moment. I'm like, I don't think I'd get through this. And then I like snapped back into it and I was like, Mady Kennedy does not quit. And I just did one stroke, and I ended up getting through it out of the water like 12 minutes after all the other females in the Olympic distance. I was like, okay, that sucked. That was a lesson learned. That is my weak spot. That's what I know now that I have to work on. But let's make up for it in the bike and the swim. And I ended up coming back and doing really well in the other two disciplines. So after that experience, I was like, whoa, we are not as invincible as we think. I can do anything, but like that was so humbling and could have ended very badly. And I need to go to work on like fixing that. So I did a lot of work on the mindset of the swim because honestly, a lot of people do struggle with the swim the most. It's the first thing that you have to do. It's what most people probably struggle with the most. And it's so much mindset because you're getting splashed, you're getting kicked, your race nerves, you're scared, you have that heightened heart rate already. And the whole swim, you have to control your breathing and control your heart rate. So I was like, this is such a fun little test for me. And I would like hype myself up and I would do jumping jacks and like raise my heart rate and then jump in the water and start swimming. Because when you're training for swimming, usually people like really calm themselves down and they start swimming. And like, that is not what happens on a race day, right? And then you get to race day and you're like, oh my God, I was not prepared for that. So I started like training for the chaos of race morning. And I spent so much time in the pool of like just calming myself down, heightening my heart rate, learning to calm myself down and work on my breath work. And the swim was the thing that I was most nervous for leading up to the race. And I did so much training for my mindset in that period of time between August and November that race week, I was so confident, like leading into the water, that I almost shocked myself. I was like, I feel weirdly calm, weirdly confident that I will get through this. It's not about being fast. It's about I know because I have proven that I can get through it and I can swim. That's all I need. I just need to know that I can swim. And I proved that to myself. So getting through that, the swim was obviously like such a huge accomplishment, but surprisingly, I went into it super, super calm because of the mindset work that I did leading up to it. And obviously, we focus a lot on the physical, but I think the mindset is what gets you through an Ironman or something of this magnitude. Your body is like, "Oh, I wanna quit, I wanna quit," and your mind is like, "No, you are not going to quit. You are gonna keep going." And I think, honestly, my mindset is what is my biggest superpower that got me through.
I 100% believe
Yeah.
that. I think, I mean, we talked about it a bit before we hopped on, but I think the mental relationship with fitness and your body is has so much more of an impact on the physical results than
Yeah.
people can. I think people take a long time to understand. So can you kind of paint me the picture of, like, you wake up on race morning to finishing the race? Like, what was that day like for you? What was the experience like? I think a lot of people fantasize about doing things like an Ironman.
Yep.
What was it like actually living it?
It was such a surreal feeling. It was a quick obviously, it was a quick training, like, block, like, 4 months is not that much time, but I put so much into it, like, I invested everything into this race. So, come race morning, I was, like, prepared, but also, like, I can't believe this day is finally here, like, everything that I've worked hard for is leading up to today, and it was overwhelming gratitude is, like, all I can explain it. I remember the car ride there, we put on one of my favorite songs, just, It's a Great Day to Be Alive,
Yeah.
and we blasted it, and I was just sobbing, and, like, I had my support crew with me, and I was just, like, crying, and I was like, "I can't believe that I'm doing this. I can't believe that I'm here. I can't believe that I have an able body and I have, like, support around me." Like, it was so much gratitude for my mind, my body, my life, and that was, like, kinda all I needed to go into it with, like, a really good mind. Obviously, there's race nerves. It's, like, something I've never done before, and you never know what to expect. Things can always come up, but that was kind of what I led with, and yeah, during the actual Ironman, like, obviously, there was so many times where I was like, "This sucks. This is so hard." The bike was like a nightmare. The bike was so hard, which I honestly wasn't expecting. I wasn't super confident on the bike, but there were so many elements that I didn't expect. I lost my nutrition, and there was headwind, and I was bonking, which essentially just means, like, you have no fuel, and I was in the struggle bus. I was like, every single pedal was so painful. I had a huge cramp down my hamstring the entire 7 hours, and it honestly was the people that you are, like, riding beside that makes such a big difference. Some of these small little act of encouragement or, like, they're something that they say to you makes the biggest difference. This guy biked beside me, and he could see that I was, like, struggling, and he was like, "Just wanna say that you're, like, crushing it. Most people would never do this," like, and he talked to me for, like, 10 minutes, and it was, like, all I needed to get through. Like, it was so profound, or people, like, biking on the other side of you just like, "You got this." And then I was like, so, like, one way you were into headwind, so the wind's coming at you is way harder, and the other way you're with the wind, so it's way easier. So it was just, like, so many people when I was going out with the headwind and I was, like, struggling were giving me words of encouragement, which just totally lifts your spirit when you're in the like, down in the dumps. And then I was like, "Okay, on my way back, when I see people there, I'm like, I'm gonna do it because I know how much that impacts you." So I was like, "You got this, let's go!" Like, and I was, like, hyping people up, and just, like, you could just see their face, like, light up. It gives them a little, like, extra boost of motivation, like, to get them through, and it makes such a big difference. And then leading into the run, like, I was so excited to be off the bike, truly. I was just like the fact that I got through that was all I needed, and I was just happy to be on my feet again. The run was the only thing I was, like, somewhat confident in, even though I never ran a marathon before. I was, like, just happy to be on ground. I felt great, and I almost thought that I would be, like, sobbing at the on the finish line 'cause it was, like, so many emotions, but I almost had so many emotions that I had no emotion at all. Like, I look miserable crossing the finish line because I was just like, I couldn't even believe what I had just done. And then as soon as I seen my family, as soon as I seen my dad, I just started sobbing, and I was like, "I can't believe what I just did." Like, I can believe it because I knew I could, but at the same time, I'm so proud of myself, and for the first time, I can say confidently, like, "I am so proud of you for, like, sticking to something and grinding and pushing yourself." And it's something that I feel like a lot of people don't do enough of is, like, being able to just say, like, "I am so proud of you," you know, like, to yourself. It because we see it as, like, cocky or arrogant. It's like, no, like, oh my god, we need to tell ourselves, like, we are proud more often and tell other people. Like, so I love doing that. People like the last so many people are like, "I don't remember the last time someone said I'm proud of you." I'm like, I fucking tell people all the time, like, "I'm so proud of you. Like, you are crushing it. Way to go." Like, that makes such a big difference for people, I think.
Yeah. Oh my God. I immediately thought of like, you know how people will have like those stickers on the back of their car, like my kid's a lawyer or
Yeah.
whatever. I just imagine like your dad having one that's like my kid's an Ironman. Eat shit. Oh man.
Yeah, he's, like, the best support.
So you cross the finish line, you go see your family. What happens after that? Because I remember seeing you post about just like the weird kind of things your body was doing in
Oh,
the couple days after the Ironman, because you essentially put your body through this like epic trauma.
yeah. Yeah, it's wild, like, especially for a woman and, like, all the hormones that go along with that, but, like, that night sleeping was horrible, like, I could barely move, and I was sweating, like, your body's just, like, trying to, like, regulate, so, like, I was drenched in sweat, and then I woke up the next day and, like, my whole body obviously is so sore. Um, I was, like, kinda, like, shaking, and I felt, like, pretty good after maybe 2, 3 days, like, my body felt pretty good, but internally, it was regulating for, like, a couple months. Even when I got home, like, I was starving, so hungry, and then, like, or had no appetite at all. Like, it was very wild, and I'm pretty in tune with my body and, like, understanding it, so it was very weird of like, "Whoa, this is not normal." I like, even going to Thrive, like, this was, like, maybe a month and a half later, like, I would, like, pull over on the side of the road and, like, be puking, and I'm like, "Okay, my body's, like, still regulating," and I think we kind of get lost, I think, in social media right now of seeing everybody do these crazy feats, and then, like, they run a marathon, the next day they're, going and doing something else, and, like, I appreciate that grind and that intensity, but not at the expense of my body and my mind. And like, I am pretty good now at letting myself recover and understanding that like what I just put myself through is hard to regulate. And like, I wanted to give myself the time to feel good again and not push myself too hard. So I kind of like took the month off and like, obviously I need movement and stuff. So I still was working out, but yeah, like my body felt heavy and weak and so many things, like, internally were just, like, so off, and I felt so bloated and because 'cause you're eating so many carbs and you're eating so many gels and stuff, so now leading up to if I did more Ironmans, which I will, and leading up to the bike, like, I'm trying to really prioritize clean foods so I feel really good because Ironman, it was just kinda like, you're burning so many calories, eat whatever you can, donuts in the mouth, sugar, and I felt like shit. So I really wanna, like, shift that for my next ventures.
Yeah, so that's the other thing I wanted to ask you about. So you are now coming in July, you're going to do a bike across Canada. So where did that idea come from? I know you're doing it for to raise funds for cancer care,
Mhm.
right? So where did that idea come from and why cancer care?
So I'm actually leaving in the end of April, so it's only, like, 2 months from now,
Okay.
um, or less than. So, again, the bike was not something that I was thinking about at all. I kinda had my whole 2026 schedule and year planned out, and this bike came up, and I kinda just shifted everything back a year. I was supposed to go to Bali to do a yoga retreat, to become a yogi, and I was gonna move and all these things, and I was like, "You know what? The timing of it kinda was perfect," and, like, I believe in signs, and I knew that this was kind of like a sign that I had to do it. Almost 30 years ago, exactly, my uncle skated across Canada. He rollerbladed across to raise money for sexual abuse, and he was 29 years old when he did it. And I didn't realize that he was 29, and I was like, "I'm 29. I wanna do that." Kind of like, take the same route almost 30 years later, like, continue on that legacy for, like, my own cause and my own mission. So, obviously, I turned 30 June 14th, so I'm gonna leave May 1st. I'm gonna do the same route, touchdown in the same body of water on my 30th birthday. So that's the timeline of it and, like, the importance of that. And then and originally, I wasn't quite sure what the, like, deeper mission was with it. It was just kind of like a a project that I really wanted to challenge myself with. And just so many things happened in the last month that I had a couple of people that I know, but not too well, that got diagnosed with cancer. And just like that, like their health was just ripped away from them. And they were people that I went to the gym with and that inspired me and were so strong. And to see that be ripped away as quickly as it is and as it can be, like I just realized how like truly fragile life is and how much of a blessing it is to be able to move our bodies in this way. So really quickly, like, it just, like it was, like, something pulling me to, like, "You need to do it for this reason and this cause and raise money." And I was gonna raise money actually for a different cause until this happened, and the way that it happened was just, like, these 2 people that I knew got diagnosed with cancer pretty aggressively. Their health gets ripped away from them, and it just, like, I could not stop thinking about it. I'm like, "Fuck, what a blessing it is to be able to do this." And I was like, "Okay, I'm gonna raise $1,000,000 for cancer instead." And my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2021. That obviously had a big impact on me, and I think the way that it worked out was, like, kinda meant to be, and since then, there's been 2 videographers that have wanted to document the journey and come in an RV and film and document the entire process,
Wow.
and both of their moms have passed away in the last year from cancer. And they didn't know that I was doing it for cancer, and I didn't know their story, and the fact that, like, we are all coming together to do this, I was like, "That is, like, such a sign." And I just think that, like, everyone's been impacted by cancer in some way, and if I can move my body and, like, inspire people to, like, do hard things because they can and take care of their health while they have it, because it's something that we just take for granted. Like, there were people that just got told they'll never walk again and just got, like, a diagnosis, and just like that, their whole life flips, and that's the only thing that they can focus on now. Like, I just think that we don't realize the value of our health until it is ripped away, and I don't want to ever take that for granted, and that's kinda, like, why I wanna do this.
It made me think of that phrase. I don't remember where I heard it, but it's like we all feel like we have 1,000 problems until you don't have your health, and then all of a sudden you only have one.
Yeah, that is literally, like, the video that I just posted yesterday, like, that is the exact it's like it's so true. We have 1,000 worries, we worry about everything in our life until you're sick, and then you only have one thing to worry about. If
Yeah.
you do not have your health and your body, you have nothing, genuinely, and, like, if this topic fires me up because we don't realize the true impact of that. If you do not have a healthy body, you will not be alive. Like, it really is that deep, you know what I mean? Like, and when I see people that have a healthy, able body and they have not taking care of it and nourishing it and nurturing it and loving it, like, it pisses me off actually, because it's like, what are you doing? Like, people do not get that. People just got told that they'll never walk again, that somebody just took their last breath on this earth, and you are taking advantage of the most valuable thing that you are given on this earth.
So you leave and you fly where? Like, are you going like straight coast to coast, or like what does that route look like? And do you know like roughly how long it's going to take you to do it?
Yeah, so we're gonna go east to west, which apparently the headwind is way worse east to west, but I want to take the same like kind of route as my uncle did. It's over 7,500 kilometers, so broken up into the 45 days is roughly 170 kilometers a day, every single day. We're taking no breaks, no stops. It's gonna be a mental and physical grind for sure. So the training is kind of working on fatigued legs. We're gonna try to stop as much as we can at some of the like cancer society spots and try to like meet as many people as we can and bring as many people on the bike ride as we can. I want to make it a movement, and I want people to move their bodies because they can and do this because they can. And that's kind of the whole point. So touching down in the Pacific Ocean on my 30th birthday would be the goal. Some days will be more, some days will be less. Obviously, like weather and terrain and going up mountains and stuff. Obviously, I'm not gonna be able to do as much as the days that it's flat and stuff. Some days might look like 220 kilometers, some might look like 120. But the goal would be to kind of wake up in the morning, have breakfast, bike for like 4 hours, lunch, bike for another four, and then enjoy the evening of rest and recovery with Pisco and my dad.
Oh my god, you're bringing Pisco?
I have to, yeah. I'm gonna bring him in the RV,
Oh my
hopefully.
gosh.
See,
That's
he's
amazing.
excited.
And your dad's he's gonna try to do a lot of the biking with you.
No, he is
No?
not gonna be biking.
Okay, okay,
He's gonna be driving the RV.
okay.
So he's gonna be kind of like following me, driving the RV with Pisco, and then there's gonna be the guys, like the film crew as well, filming that. So we're looking for sponsors and stuff to make it possible because obviously it's like a big, huge thing. Then we want to make it a really big movement. But yeah, I'm really excited for the lessons and that I'm gonna learn, obviously, and like what I'm gonna learn about myself through that. Because I mean, now even looking at this, it makes the Ironman look tiny, because I know that it's gonna be a lot of mental struggle, and I kind of that kind of excites me because I just know that the lessons that you learn in the depths of those moments is so profound, and it's gonna be with me for, like, the rest of my life.
Wow. So, do you know how much you've raised so far?
I actually have no idea. I haven't checked, but yeah, the goal is $1,000,000, so
Okay.
yeah.
So I'll get you to send me the link so we can plug it in. But if people
Yes.
wanted to reach out to you for sponsorship opportunities or wanted to donate, do you have a best way for people to reach you for that?
Yeah, so I'm sure I'll just give you the email. So if you want to be like a journey partner and sponsor some of the ride, we are looking for sponsors. So just send us an email and I can send you kind of like the sponsorship kit. If you want to donate, there is a link where you can donate straight to the Cancer Society. And if you want to just show your support and come out during the route and wave a sign or come ride for a leg. We are trying to make it as big as possible. So we're inviting as many people to come bike and come for as many kilometers as you can give. Anything helps, whether you can do 5 kilometers or 20 or a whole day's worth, whatever. All of that support means the world. But also just like sharing the content, sharing the journey, sharing the stories. Like, yeah, it's all makes a difference.
Are you riding through Winnipeg or what?
Yes.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay.
So
I feel like we'll have to come bike with you for that
you
leg.
absolutely will. So we're kind of trying to plan. We're still figuring out the logistics of the exact route, but Winnipeg, I think, is going to be, or Manitoba will be kind of broken up into 3 days. We're going to make a stop in Winnipeg and kind of like host a big party and then continue on. But I feel like there'll be a lot of people joining for the Manitoba leg. And honestly, I can, like, picture that being, like, such a pivotal point for me because it's gonna be, a lot of grind and then just looking forward to, like, seeing, like, my home city and, like, the support here. I think it's gonna and just, like, seeing my friends, maybe sleeping in my own bed for one day and then continuing on. I feel like that's gonna be, like, the midway motivation that I need to, like, keep pushing forward. We also have a lot of, like, friends and family that are gonna meet us in BC and kinda celebrate my 30th birthday. Um, and the end of the trip, so
Yeah. Winnipeg will be like probably exactly like the halfway point.
not quite. It's, like, more so like Toronto is, like, the halfway point or,
Oh,
like, a little bit more into Ontario, so it's more than halfway to get here, but regardless, I'm just gonna be, like, so excited to go through Manitoba and, like, see my people and, like, have the hometown support. I feel like it's gonna be, like, unmatched.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I've always wondered this because I see people cycling often in the proper cycling stance where you're like so hunched
Hunched
over the
over?
bike.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered, why is that the form? Does that not like kill your back? Please explain.
Okay, regardless, the bike, like, it hurts. Like, everyone always asks me, "Doesn't it hurt your butt?" Like, yes, it absolutely does. It's just, like, more time on the bike. You almost, like, build, like, ass calluses, essentially. Like, you just get more used to sitting on it, but, like, it absolutely hurts. So the reason for the aero position, like, when you're kinda leaned over like that is you're more aerodynamic. So if you're sitting up, you have the wind hitting you, obviously, you're not gonna go as fast, and it's a little bit harder. So I will pretty much be in that arrow position for majority of it. It actually is more comfy than it looks, other than like it does take a toll on like your shoulders and your arms when so you just kind of like have to stretch it out, but it's uh it's a lot faster, I guess, to go in the arrow position. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. I've always wondered this when I see people cycling on the side. I'm like, I know that's like how proper cyclists do it. It just looks so uncomfortable.
Right? I had never done it, never heard of it before when I started biking, like, I've never seen the aero bars or the handlebars, and, like, you switching your gears is on the aero it is in the aero position, and, like, clips, like, I didn't know you had to clip in, so you have to buy, like, bike shoes and, like, clip in like you would when you're going to, like, cycle class.
Yeah.
So, like, all of that was really, like, interesting to learn because when you first start clipping in, like, you eat shit a lot. Like, I fell over, it was, like, my legs bleeding because you can't stop. You have to, like, unclip just to put your leg down, and if you forget that you're clipped in, like, you will just fall over. So, it's definitely, like, in the beginning, it's challenging to get used to, but, like, now, you get used to it. Yeah, I can't believe that, like, July was when I started biking, and now, like, I spend 5 hours on that thing every day. It's my bestie.
I know you said you're going to do your long ride today for what, 7 hours is what that was?
Like, probably, like, round 6, yeah, so, yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, we'll plug all that in the show notes. The last question that I always like to ask everybody I interview is, we put this content out there for people who feel like inspired idiots, in that they want to build like their unrealistic life. They want to achieve something that maybe other people tell them is
Mhm.
unrealistic, but they're kind of just willing to feel like an idiot and, like you said, figure it out as they go.
Yeah.
So if you could give one piece of advice to people who feel like inspired idiots, what is the first thing that comes to your mind?
Not allowing other people's limitations to be your own. And I think it's very easy to let other people dictate what we do. But when you can really hone in on what brings you happiness and brings you joy, and you stop caring about what other people think, you become so powerful and so limitless, and you start to see the world through a different perspective and a different lens. And I think by doing that more often, we just can have such different results. And yeah, I just think it's so important to chase your dreams and not wait. Like, do big things, ask better questions, be bold, take risks, not be afraid to fail or seen trying. And yeah, I think if you hone in on that, you can like really watch your life change.
That's awesome. I think it's a good note to end it on. I'm so excited to watch the race or the rides, and we'll come out.
Enjoy it and come
Yeah,
hike.
we'll for
Yeah.
sure, we'll for sure come out for the Winnipeg leg. And I love that you're taking Pisco with you. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's cool. But thank you for letting us in your home and
Of
letting us interview you.
course. I am very excited for everything you guys are doing and everything. I just feel like it's such a full circle moment knowing you guys from forever ago, and now we're all like inspired idiots.
Inspired idiot. All right, that's a wrap.
Hey, can you see peace go in it?
A little bit.
I hope so. When he like
Yeah.
crawled in and then you
Yeah.
were talking about bringing him with you, I was like, oh my gosh, it's so perfect that we didn't like block him out.